father accused of killing his 4-year-old son was back in court today for a brief appearance. The next time he'll be there, Joshua Emmons, it's going to be February the 10th. That's the schedule. Emmons accused of hurting his son, this little boy, Rykelan Brown, causing his death back in late May. On Friday, we got a rare opportunity exclusively to sit down with the Cortland County Commissioner of Social Services to talk about this case. Joining us now to try and shed some light on the case and the intricacies of the child welfare system is Kristen Monroe. She's the Cortland County Commissioner of Social Services.
Kristen, thank you for joining us.
So let's start here, Kristen. Yes, thank you. Your department has come under tremendous scrutiny, criticism, because it was involved in the process of Joshua Emmons gaining custody of his son, who was living with a foster family in Cortland County at the time. How did this all start that Emmons even suddenly came into Rykelan's life?
Sure. And first of all, just thank you for giving me this opportunity to share the limited information that is available on this horrific tragedy. So for children who are in foster care, the Family Court Act is designed to support and require reunification with parents, whether it be the parent who we removed a child from or a non-respondent parent. In fact, the Family Court Act requires departments of social services to identify and seek non-respondent parents and to inform them of their rights to file for custody. And there are a couple of different ways they can obtain custody. In Mr. Emmons' case, it was through Article 6 of the Family Court Act, which is the guardianship in custody provision of the law. And under that law, once custody is granted, the Department of Social Services has no more involvement.
So he came to you, essentially. You didn't find him. He eventually
Our obligation was to find him.
Okay.
And once he was identified, paternity testing occurs. And when he was confirmed the father, we inquired whether or not he wanted to exercise his parental rights.
Okay.
So now that you've explained the legal status of that, what about the process? What kind of process does a parent in this situation, if you could be specific about Emmons, have to go through to get custody?
So once a father is identified and wants to exercise his rights, we offer visitation. It starts with supervised visitation and it progresses to unsupervised and eventually longer term unsupervised, progressing to overnights. And we've informed him of his rights, or any parent we found of his rights. And in this case, he filed an Article 6 petition, which commenced a family court proceeding. In that proceeding, all interested parties are afforded the opportunity to have legal counsel. So that includes both parents, children, foster parents who qualify. That's a foster parent who's had a child for 12 or more months, and any other interested custodial parties. The court process will proceed with every party exercising their right and until the judge makes a determination and awards custody and placement of a child.
So a judge was the ultimate approval of this, but how did that visitation, that progressive visitation process go with Joshua Emmons and Rykelan?
So Mr. Emmons was adjudicated as the father in August of 2023, and visitation proceeded up until custody was awarded the end of March of 2024. The progressive visitation.
This has been a big issue. Was a criminal history check done, or can that type of thing be done? And were there any even complaints against Joshua Emmons from what you could learn from Onondaga County where he was living?
Yeah, thanks for asking. So the first thing we do is search our statewide child welfare database for information. And in this case, our search revealed that Mr. Emmons did have a misdemeanor conviction 5 years earlier. Additionally, we reviewed family history in the county in which he resided, and were able to determine that he had not been the subject of a neglect or abuse petition, despite the fact that he had been living in a home with several children, including one of his own, for the most recent 4 years.
But I have to ask you, Chrissy, hang on one second. That misdemeanor, that did involve a child, though. So was there a red flag there, or what was that charge? What can you say about that?
Well, the existence of a criminal history does not prohibit someone from parenting their child. It will depend on the length of time that's passed since the conviction, current circumstances, and the level of the charge. So there is no one answer to that question.
And I think a lot of people are wondering, because he had a charge involving the beating of a little boy a few years prior. So a lot of people are asking, how could someone with that type of a charge, that criminal history, be allowed to have custody of his son?
I think it gets back to the evaluation of the time that's passed and the level of the charge. In this case, it was a misdemeanor charge, and current circumstances were such that he had been parenting other children without incident. So we would not be in a position necessarily to file a neglect petition against a parent. Okay. It was not.
We also want to follow up with, we know it's standard procedure for the state to perform a fatality review in the death of a child. So what, if any, and we know that that process takes place, what, if any, involvement did Cortland County have in that type of a review statewide?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. The New York State Office of Children and Family Services is the entity charged with investigating and completing reports on all child welfare fatalities in New York State. Those reports have to be done within 6 months. And in our situation, Cortland County was not asked for input into that draft report. There's a process whereby the draft goes to counties who have had work as part of the review. Cortland County was not asked for input into that, and OCFS representatives have told me that there were no regulatory findings against Cortland County.
Oh, which is why you weren't asked that. They didn't just leave you out. They saw no reason to necessarily contact you. A lot of people will ask, how do we make sure this type of thing doesn't happen again? What kinds of things have you been doing in your office, you know, to try to close any loopholes, or again, just simply put, try to prevent this type of thing from happening again?
Specifically, in regard to this case, we've worked closely with our regional office, our OCFS regional office, to review all of our work, and there have been no findings in regard to us not following New York State rules, regulations, statutes. However, we do seek their input for best practices, and that's an ongoing thing. We did it in this case, we do it in several cases, and there are also formal reviews where we ask for their help and input on how to improve best practices and provide training to our staff.
Was any additional training going to be done?
In regard to this case, nothing was identified as a need.
All right. And how difficult is it in your field? So many state regulations, there are laws, rules, things that you can and can't consider. And now this level of scrutiny, very harsh criticism too. What has that done to your department?
Thanks for asking. It's been extremely difficult. Our system is very complex, and we know it's difficult for outsiders to understand if they have not worked in it. Confidentiality is paramount, not only due to state and federal laws that very much limit what can be disclosed, but also because children and families need to be able to trust our system, and that we will we will protect their privacy when they reveal the most intimate information to us. So that makes responding to media information that may be incorrect or provided by people who just don't understand our system very difficult, if not impossible. Everything we do is based on an assessment of risk and safety, balanced by our legal authority to intervene or not. All of that's done only with the benefit of foresight. So in a situation like this, when we have the benefit of hindsight through the dark lens, I should say, of a child who's died, it can be incredibly difficult to understand the circumstances under which both child welfare workers and judges make decisions in child welfare cases. The fact is, though, that very special people do this work. Individuals do not get into this line of work unless they want to help children have better lives. No one wants to prevent tragic outcomes like this more than our caseworkers who go in the field and see horrific things every day. So I think that when a tragedy like this occurs and there's some instant blame, it actually ends up weakening our system. I think that for two reasons. First of all, the folks doing it become scared, and they often want to leave rather than be under that type of scrutiny for doing their jobs, oftentimes very correctly and within all of the authority that they have. And the other thing is the system is always at risk of becoming risk adverse in situations like this. And that can be a very dangerous thing, because we don't want to overuse our authority and potentially separate children from their families unnecessarily, which carries equal damage.
Yeah. Krista Monroe, the Commissioner of Cortland County Social Services, thank you so much for a very open and frank conversation, particularly on Rykelan Brown. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.